Showcasing local talent, professionals, and everyday people making Salt Lake City what it is today. It's time for another episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast.
Welcome back to the I Am Salt Lake podcast. This is episode 92. My name is Chris Hollifield. I am the host. Welcome to my show, everybody. Thank you for listening, especially if this is your first time tuning in. IamSaltLake.com is a website. Go on over there. You can connect with me. Got all the links for all of the emails, voicemails, social media sites all over at IamSaltLake.com. Today's guest, Aaron Spasiano. You might remember my conversation with Cade from Damn Son Music in episode 63. Well, anyways, in this episode, I brought on one of the artists from that label, Aaron. We got a chance to talk. We got a chance to talk about music, how he got into creating the beats that he creates, the music he creates, and got to know a little bit more about him. Had a really great conversation with him that I'm about to play here in just a minute. Let me quickly read the part of the biography, though. I think it kind of sums him up very well. This is part of the biography from the Damn Son Music website. You can find that at damnsonmusic.com. Anyways, it reads, Aaron Spasiano is a musical higher intelligence, hailing from a dimension where music is law and beats are religion. His project Gaszia incorporates eclectic staggered beats, soulful bass, and emotion all infused with an atmospheric quality so thick you can taste it. I love it. Anyways, here's the conversation that I had with Aaron. Thank you for listening to another episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast. Why don't you just kind of introduce yourself? Just kind of, especially for people listening that might not be familiar about yourself, kind of, you know, where you're from, what you do. Tell us who Aaron is. What is Aaron all about?
I'm from Ogden, Utah. I moved to Layton, I want to say about 4 years ago from Cedar City, Utah. Originally, I'm from Ventura, California, so I've kind of been all over.
Okay, let's stop there for a minute. I grew up in Ventura.
Really?
There you go.
Wow.
How about that?
Zion, or Zion, whatever you want to call him, he's on the label as well. He's from there also. He's actually there right now. He just got reconstructive jaw surgery. So kind of crazy how everyone seems to be from like that area. Yeah.
Wow. Ventura, California. I lived there till I was 16. But we're not here to talk about me. We're here to find out about you and your music that you create. So you grew up in Ventura, and when did you come to Utah then?
I moved to St. George in 97. Before that, I was living in Nevada for a bit. So I actually left California when I was 3. So I go back from time to time to visit and such. But anyway, so now I'm here in Salt Lake, Ogden area. I'm getting ready to move in with a label mate to Salt Lake. But anyways, so my I guess stage name is Gaszia. I make what's called future bass music / future garage, UK garage, whatever you want to call it. Just forward thinking music, basically.
How would you describe that? I mean, how would you describe that sound?
As far as describing the sound, it's really just think of any type of genre and then just think of it in the future. Just how it's almost like progressive metal, for instance. It's always changing. So you could take a really big element right now in it is trap, because trap is big. Trap is like the new dubstep, basically. And then another thing is like R&B. R&B seems to really be coming back and is brought into it. And I guess as far as like elements, there's a lot of like the 808 drums. There's a lot of really weird samples, just creating texture and lots of pads and just all sorts of strange stuff. And then they take a lot of like the UK garage elements, and they take like an old song, whether it be like funk, R&B, soul, etc., and they just chop it up, just take like a little sample of it, and just chop it up for vocals. Because a lot of producers, when they first start out, they don't know any vocalists, and they want to work with vocals, so that way when they finally have the chance to work with the vocalist, they're like, okay, I know what's going to work and what's not.
And what got you interested in creating beats? I mean, like what, do you have like a musical history? Did you grow up playing a lot of music, or what led you to actually finally decide, hey, this is what I want to do? Or, I mean, I guess that was a lot of questions probably in one there, but,
yeah, I mean, that's good because there's a lot of questions. So basically, when I first moved to, I first moved to Layton, I didn't know anyone, and I was going to school, and so I didn't really have much to do after school or on the weekends because I didn't know anyone. So that was around the time I first got introduced to like electronic music, so I was hearing more of like house stuff like Armin van Buuren and Deadmau5 and all those big names, and so I just started looking up like, how can I make music? I want to make music like these guys. And so I came across this, it was a computer program called Fruity Loops, or now called FL Studio. And I grabbed a demo of it and just started playing around and tinkering. And as the years progressed, I put out a couple of really shitty EPs, and people liked it though. But I mean, I'm like a perfectionist, so I'm just like, it's not good, it has to be better. And so I kept like perfecting my sound. And
so how long have you been doing this for? How many years?
Altogether, I've been doing it for about 5 years on and off. Just, so about 5 years. And so in 2010, I made an EP I was pretty proud of, and I put it up on iTunes. And when I put it up, there was this contest going to where anything that was put up would be listened by Owl City. I'm sure you've heard of him. He's on the radio now. But at the time, he was just barely beginning to be on the radio. And he was like my inspiration. So once I started listening to Deadmau5 and getting to like all this electronic music, I found Owl City, and I was like way, way, way into him.
Really?
And all that stuff. Yeah.
So were you into like the Postal Service too?
Yeah, the Postal Service, all of that, you name it. All of like that, like melancholy, but also happy, just like synth pop, I guess it's what it's called. So I submitted it. I was like, this is going to be awesome. Turns out I won.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I won. And
what'd you win?
Basically, he just reviewed a track.
Okay.
So he picked a song off my EP. The song was called Under the Aurora. And then the EP, I don't remember what the EP was called, but he basically reviewed this track. And so TuneCore actually tweeted me, and they told me that I won. And then TuneCore then emailed me later and sent the review from Owl City. And it was just telling me what he liked, what he thought I could improve on. So it was cool to know that one of like my biggest inspirations at the time had heard my music.
Yeah, and to get critiqued by them.
Exactly.
And and find it. I mean, just to even know that they listened to it must have been an awesome feeling. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like
that was like one of like my life goals right there. It was huge.
I could imagine.
And so when that happened, that was around that time I had just graduated high school, and I was getting ready to go to school for web design. The more I thought about it, the more I realized, hey, I don't want to do this. I mean, I was going to like a local college called Davis Applied Technology School, and I was going there for web design. The whole time, I ended up ditching the class and just making beats instead. And so...
Because that's where your heart was. Your heart was in making the beats.
Exactly. Like, that's what I want to do. And so, pondering on this, I realized, okay, well, maybe I should go into music. I guess that entire thing, I mean, winning that contest, realizing I didn't want to go into the field that I was originally going into, and realizing what I spent my spare time doing, made me realize this is what I want to do. This is what I want to devote all my time into and actually be serious about.
Growing up though, backing up kind of even, have you played other instruments at all? Like, did you grow up playing guitar or piano or violin or anything?
Not really.
Not really.
The only thing I did is I played trumpet back in like 6th grade.
Okay.
I was pretty good, but then I just kind of stopped. And then, I tried to get into keyboard, but I never could have consistent lessons just because like money was always tight around that time. So I wasn't able to really do a whole lot as far as music back when I was younger. Also, I don't know, I just didn't really have motivation, but I think that once I found something that I could do without it being a chore, I mean, I just knew that must be it. And so whenever I made music,
you could just get lost in it.
I think the most I've ever spent was like a full 20 hours just making a song one time.
20 hours straight. You were just
20 hours straight. I don't even think I ate that day.
Okay. At that point, okay, I have something that I truly love.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with being able to get to the point where, hey, you know what? This is how I can make money and this is what I can do to support myself. So going forward a little bit, how did you, get teamed up with Damson? I had Cade from Damson on the podcast. We were talking about that, before we started recording. You know, he recommended, hey, you need to bring Aaron on the show. How did you get teamed up with him? How did you meet up with those guys?
So it was just earlier this year. I want to say around January. I didn't have a job at the time, so I was just kind of just doing nothing but making music. And this is definitely shifting. Now I use a program called Ableton. Excuse me, Ableton. I was just working with that, just trying to get some stuff out there so that I could actually be heard with my new sound, basically. Mm-hmm. And so there's a bunch of forums I joined on Facebook. I guess groups is what they're called. And just started talking to people, trying to make connections. And I saw Cade post something in there one day. And me being the curious guy, I always like to go and look at people and see like what they do, where they're from, who they are, etc. Just kind of, I guess, Facebook stalk in a way.
Yeah.
And so I checked it out, and I saw he's in his bio it said owner of Damson Records, and I saw it as like his cover photo and everything. And I was just like, oh, what's this? Because I've never seen an actual record label in Salt Lake.
Yeah.
In Salt Lake, basically. Yeah. And so I like checked out the website. I saw it and I was like, this is really cool. I really like what they're doing. And so I was just like, hey, are you still like accepting people? Like, do you want anyone else or are you full? And he's like, no, let's hear some music. And then I linked into my SoundCloud. He checked it out and he was like, this is really good. He's like, we should meet up and kind of talk and see if things vibe out and then go from there. And so, I don't know if Cade told you, but there's another guy. He's more of the actual founder. His name is Omar.
Yeah, he was unable when I met up with Cade. He was out of town or something like that. So
yeah, he's been out of town for the past, I want to say 3 months. He just got back, ended up getting married, and is now on his honeymoon. So he's like never here, it seems.
Wow.
I haven't seen him for I think about 5 months now.
So they're pretty cool guys to work with then, I guess, huh? With Damson.
Yeah, very cool. I mean, before I met them, I didn't know anyone that liked type of music I liked. And then like, I would be like, hey, do you know this artist? And they'd be like, oh yeah. I mean, Omar, he's kind of a bit more towards like the house and like, I guess the stuff that they actually play in the clubs around here. But Cade seems to be a bit more of like the forward thinker type of guy and all of like the underground stuff that's kind of floating around. And then Omar, because like he's around us, he's kind of being attracted to that. Regardless, they're both really cool people. Like, they're some like the nicest people I've ever met around here.
Do you get a chance? Do you play a lot of clubs or shows or parties? I'm not part of the scene, that whole scene, so I really don't even know what you guys call it.
I've only played 3 shows so far. I played one down at Mojo's in Ogden, and it was with a bunch of dubstep heads, so it didn't really work out because my stuff is really laid back compared to all like that stuff like, do you know Dirt First at all?
Cade might have mentioned his name. It sounds familiar, but again, a whole scene I know nothing really about. That's why you're here to educate me.
Cool. Well, that works. Yeah, they're like actually a crew in Salt Lake.
Okay.
And they're basically like owning the scene right now. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of most of their music, but they are definitely what's up right now. So
you were playing a couple shows, one in Ogden.
I played with them, and then my second show was in Denver. There's a guy out there, his name is Baby Shoe. Cade might have mentioned him, but his name is Baby Shoe. He owns a label called Shoebox Recordings, and he runs this event bi-monthly called Fresh Produce. And so basically it's just like showcasing fresh artists, like up-and-coming stuff. And so I went out there and I met him when I went out with Cade, because Cade played in March out at Fresh Produce. So I met Baby Shoe, and then I showed him his music, and he liked my stuff. So I ended up playing the next Fresh Produce, which was...
So you flew out to Denver or drove out there? And...
Yeah, so I drove out there with Cade, and then another label mate that actually played with me. And then I played that, and that was actually the biggest show.
How many people were there, probably?
I would want to say a little less than 80, 90, somewhere around there.
But yeah, I mean, still though, I mean, performing in front of doing what you, I mean, what does your setup look like? I mean, can you describe your setup at all? I mean,
as far as what I use on
stage? What do you use? I mean, talk to me. What do you use? Like a MacBook and? Yeah.
I use a MacBook, and right now I have a Jazzmeet Lemur. Basically what that is like a touch interface. They went extinct. They started just making the app. It's called the Lemur app for the iPad now, so you can just buy an iPad, download the app for $50. So, I mean, I got that just because, it's...
Wow, and I thought really, a 99-cent app was a lot, a $50 app for your...
Yeah, $50 app is pushing it. There's actually an app on the store for $700. It's for security or something.
Okay.
People just go nuts with those apps.
Anyways, sorry. You just said a $50 app, and I was just like, what the hell?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. So, I mean, I probably never buy the app, but I mean, just having the hardware itself was pretty fun. But, I mean, I've had so many problems with it, I ended up not even using it in Denver. So I use this, it's an MPD, kind of like the old MPCs, that hip hop guys would use, except that all you do is you just plug it in with a USB cable. And then you can assign the knobs and the faders and the buttons to anything that you want inside of Ableton. And so, Zion, his real name is Christian. We'll just call him Christian from now on. So Christian, he borrowed this MPC pad from a friend, and so we ended up using that. And so after using that, I'm just like, wow, I really like that. And so now I am selling my Lemur on eBay, and I'm gonna get this really popular controller called an APC 40. So it's just like what we're using the MPC, so that it's a lot more integrated with Ableton, it's built for Ableton. And that's basically it.
And you just kind of learned, you just kind of figured out what you needed, or kind of met up with other artists, I guess. I mean, how did you know what to buy? How did you know, okay, I need this contraption to make this and this and this?
Just tons of research. I mean, yeah. I think,
well, that's kind of how I was even with this podcast. It was like, well, I don't know what mic to get. I don't know what mixer to get,
Yeah, exactly. So you just got
kind of get in there and research.
I'm sure that you checked out forums.
Exactly.
And tons of stuff.
And then eventually you start networking. You kind of start networking with other people.
Yeah. I mean, now I joined these groups. I've made an okay network. I mean, not a lot of people out here seem to really make the type of music that I make. There's one guy, his name is Tetris Fingers, and he makes music very similar to my sound. And then there's another guy, his name is Stubby, with 4 E's, so Stubby just kind of just drifts off. Anyway, so...
I like that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And so those are the only two other guys besides me and Christian that make the type of music that is being made right now. So my network is really small out here. I've been networking with, have you ever heard of turntable.fm?
No.
Okay, so that's basically an online music community. You can go into...
Oh, yeah. I think I'm familiar with that now. Okay.
Yeah. That's actually where I've made a lot of my networking at, is Turntable. And, there's a particular room, and they help people network, little bedroom producers connect. And so I'm in that group, and so that's how I really network with a lot of people. I mean, just collaborating and finding out stuff about gear or workflow. I mean, anything really. Yeah. I mean, as far as back to the gear, as far as that, just a lot of research, talking to people online. Yes. And then just
trial and error.
Just trial and error. Yeah, really. That's about it.
What's been the most challenging thing? What are some obstacles that have been really frustrating for you with what you do?
I think what's really frustrating is my last show was at Urban Lounge, and usually I always see extremely good turnouts there. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure, have you ever been to the Urban Lounge?
Yeah, right down the street. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I went there, and there was this guy that played, and I mean, he was all right. I wasn't a huge fan, but he played pretty well. And then I played, and like everyone just left, and I was just like, come on, like what? I mean, I know I make good music because I've had people tell me, unless maybe I'm just being cocky or something. So I guess that was kind of like a downer, and I think.
Do you think maybe it had something to do with the fact that maybe nobody heard of you?
Yeah, I think it's just the fact that no one heard of me. Which
I want to make a point really quickly is, for people listening, check out new stuff, whether that's a musician, whether that's, anything. I mean, a book, a movie. I think people are so afraid that, I've never heard of this person before, so I don't want to, listen to their music. Give new music a try. You're there already to listen to it,
Yeah, and it's kind of like what I said before, like, I make forward-thinking music. And I think that especially, it seems to be that in Utah, a lot of people aren't really forward-thinking. They kind of just like to listen what they're used to, what they're familiar and comfortable with. And maybe that's like that in other places too. They just kind of like what they hear on the radio, or they like to watch the movies that their friends like to watch, or the books or whatever. And people don't really just kind of go out and just find things on their own.
Well, it goes back to, why don't you be the leader of your friends? You introduce your friends to new music, like Aaron's,
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, go out there and like find something that you can show your friends and stuff. And I mean, that kind of leads into the tie with how hipsters are just like so pushed into this little group of like, oh, we're so cooler than you. And I don't want to say that people are like that, because people aren't. I mean, people just need to go out and just kind of do their own thing. I mean, do your own thing. Don't follow the crowds, I guess.
Yeah.
And, motivational speech from Gaszia.
No, I love it. And there's so much that people can learn from that. Let's find out a little bit about you. I mean, besides making music, what are some of your other hobbies and interests, or does music pretty much consume you?
At first, music was all I did. And then as I networked, I met people that are doing other things. So I help run a blog called Edoclue, and it actually started out as a YouTube channel that was started by Christian and some of his friends back in Ventura. And I mean, it's just a way to like share music, and so I help run that. So I kind of like do like some of like the graphic stuff, because we need to like we wanted to make it look appealing, basically. Mm-hmm. So I would do that. I've done tons of like little things here and there. I wrote for some blogs for a while. I mean, anything involving music, I kind of.
And you enjoy writing as well? Are you a pretty good writer, or?
Yeah, I mean, English was probably my favorite subject. Yeah, and back in high school, I would say I'm a pretty decent writer. Everyone's liked my writing. I've dabbled in like graphic stuff. Christian, he's also running like a website marketing / everything type of business as far as like digital media goes. And so I do like the marketing and some of the writing content for that as well. Basically, the main thing that takes up my time right now is I just started a new job with Cade, actually. And it's basically we're a reseller of food storage. And I just do the social networking and the marketing and kind of just run numbers for ads and see what's working with keywords, what's not working with keywords, and then just make those ads fit their best potential. So I just barely started that a couple of weeks ago, and so far it's been really awesome. I like it. And I know that like food storage is definitely a pretty big thing out here.
Here in Utah, especially.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody it's got to save for,
Yeah, they need
Y2K.
They want to save for the next disaster, even though nothing will probably ever happen around here. But I mean, hopefully other countries, I guess states will come out and realize, hey, we need this. Because, I mean, especially just seeing the whole Oklahoma tornado thing, I mean, it'd be good to have something set up for that.
So you live in Ogden right now.
Yeah.
You make it down to Salt Lake quite a bit, or you work down here, right?
Yeah, I work in South Jordan, so to save gas, I just ride the front runner, and then I have a buddy pick me up, and the work is not that far away from the station. So I'm down here, and then also everyone on Danson is down here, so I'm always down here doing stuff. And then, like I said, I'm getting ready to move down here because everything is down here as well. So
I mean, what's life like in Ogden? I mean, honestly, I don't make it up there too much. Occasionally, I'll make it up there for a show or something if there's a band playing up that way. But I mean, is there any kind of music scene like with with what you're doing, or not much opportunity up there? Or
with me and my music, there's not. I actually forgot to mention this. I used to play in a bunch of metal bands.
Wow.
And so
the metal scene, I heard, is incredible in Ogden.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's like booming out there. I mean, a lot of bands, they have potential, but they don't really use it that well. I was in some bands, and a lot of good things came out of that. So,
what did you play in the metal bands?
I did vocals, like screaming. I was in like one of the screaming
So
bands.
you were one of the screamers.
Yeah.
Screamo.
Yeah, I was in the screamo, or the metalcore, or whatever you want to call it. And so I was in that, and so that's really what there is to do. I mean, before I came into electronic music, I was at a show every weekend, pretty much.
Uh-huh.
That's like all there is to do down there. That, and then there's like some bars, but I'm not really a huge drinker.
Like if I was to go to Ogden, what would be a bar that you would recommend me to go to? Like a chill place. Just boom, I want to grab a beer. No drama, just maybe some decent live music.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really anything that's actually cool. I went to one bar for my friend's birthday called Kamikazes.
Oh yeah, I've been there. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it was all right. I wasn't a huge fan of it because I mean, there's a lot of like the big tough dudes, and I'm like some like scrawny kid, and they're all just like, "Oh, we'll beat you up." And
I went there to see. Gosh, my mind's blank on who he played. God, doesn't matter. A musician played there, and I can't even. It's going to bug me now that I can't remember his name.
Yeah, there's like so many different musicians that just come in and out of everywhere. Really, it's crazy.
So, what do you like about Salt Lake? Then, that's just kind of where the life is, or
yeah. I mean, there seems to be a lot more to do down here. I think the only thing that I like in Ogden is just I like downtown. It's really pretty to look at, especially like in the winter. I mean, just going out there. Every once in a while, there's a couple of like different activities to do. Like in the winter, they have like a big, huge light show of like Christmas lights, and there's a bunch of cool like little restaurants down there. And there's a couple of tattoo shops too. They're like really cool to go into and just kind of check out stuff.
You have any tattoos or no? You don't have any tattoos.
I don't. I used to have my lip pierced, and that was really
that was about as hardcore as you got.
Yeah, exactly. I'd like to start getting some. I want to make sure that's actually like worth getting and meaningful to me. Yeah, I mean, one day.
One day.
Yeah, back to Salt Lake. I like Salt Lake. I mean, there's a lot more to do. I mean, there's a lot more places to go. There's a lot more different people. People seem more diverse out here, and there's just a lot more to see. I mean, even just like going to, what is it, City Creek, Cold Creek Mall?
Oh, City Creek Mall, yeah.
I mean, just going there and just like watching people. Like,
there's some weird people there, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird people, but I mean, I guess I'm like kind of like an introvert. I just like watching and just.
What I don't understand about that mall is some of the shops that came in there, like a Rolex shop. Are you serious? I mean, come on, who comes to Salt Lake to buy a Rolex?
Yeah, I mean, I know. Like,
I don't know.
I hear that there's like a lot of tourists that actually do come through.
Yeah,
and they come down to like ski and stuff. But I mean, it's in the middle of summer, so why would you even have stuff like that?
I don't know.
Like year round.
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, there's like a lot of high end shops out there. So it's just like, if there's a lot of tourists that come through, then hey, maybe that's what they like to do in their spare time. But they can go back to wherever they're from, like New York or LA, and buy the same watch at the same store.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't kill them.
Yeah. It's still a cool looking mall, though. You have to admit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the little pond in the middle, or the creek, that's probably the coolest part. And then during the summer, when the roof is off, that's just awesome.
And then to walk out over the bridge over Main Street there.
Oh, yeah.
And get some really cool shots with the camera and iPhone or whatnot. Well, let's talk about, you mentioned, before we sat down, you got a CD or something coming out the end of August.
Yeah, at the end of August, I have an EP that's going to be coming out on Downson Records. It'll be like my first actual release with them. And it's called Hombre. And so I'm Italian. Hombre is Italian, and it means from the shadows. And so from the shadows, I mean, you can kind of see where this is going. Basically, this is like my debut. I'm coming out. Here I am. Now I'm in the light, basically. So this is like the EP that's going to kind of shed some light on me. I hope, anyways.
And is it how many? You mentioned EP, so like 5 or 6 songs,
yeah,
maybe.
It's 5 songs, and then I have a couple of connections I've made, like other producers, and they're going to be releasing remixes for it. So altogether, I want to say like 8 or 9 songs.
Okay. And is it going to be strictly online, or do do people even like yourself even have actual CDs that they sell, or is it all just like through SoundCloud?
We just got distribution with this company called Symphonic Distribution, so it will be actually released on places like iTunes and Beatport and all that stuff. But I mean, I don't really want to charge people for my music quite yet. So, I mean, you can just go to like the Damn Son Bandcamp and just get it for free. But I mean, if you want to support, then hey, go to these other links.
Or send a donation, right? I mean,
exactly.
you could kick over $1 or two or through PayPal, I bet, you know, and that goes a long ways.
Yeah, exactly. And that's probably nicer, I think. I mean, it won't be on any other type of physical format.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
who buys CDs really anymore, really, right? I mean,
exactly. I was just going to say, I'm sure that you're familiar with vinyl and that you know that vinyl is coming back right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have a vinyl player. I buy anything that I possibly can on vinyl. So eventually I'd like to print, or I guess press on vinyl, but I was looking at it today and it's like expensive as hell.
Oh, it's crazy. It costs more money to press a record than to make a CD, and you can sell a CD for a lot more than you can a record, which is crazy.
I mean,
it's mind blowing.
You can sell a CD and a record for about the same price.
Okay, yeah. But the CD's a lot cheaper to produce.
Exactly,
versus
the CD's a lot cheaper. And I mean, like, I don't really want to press on CD because, like you said, I mean, who buys CDs anymore? It's all just either digital or who knows.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so easy to go out and buy like an auxiliary cord and plug your iPod into your stereo now, or just, I mean, everyone has Macs now or some type of laptop.
Any kind of laptop. I mean, even SkyDrive. I mean, download it on your phone with your headphones.
What's SkyDrive?
I don't even know if you can. It's a Microsoft online storage thing. I don't even know if you can store music there, but
I think I've heard of it.
I think it might be kind of like the. I'm familiar like with the cloud, you know, the iCloud and stuff. So I'm not really familiar with a lot of Microsoft, but I think you could put. Anyways, but yeah, I mean, everything's digital. And it's a lot easier for me because you know I don't have time to go down to the store. I'll just download it on my computer.
Yeah, and it's so convenient. And what's also nice is just having like a collection of all your songs instead of, you know, okay, now I got to pull this record off and put this one on.
Yeah.
Or CD, whatever you use. And I mean, like, it's good to have something physical just as like a memorabilia, I think is the right term for it. Just to have, so say like hundreds of years down the road, all of a sudden everything digital goes down for some reason. Then you have all of this stuff to remember music or movies or any type of art by. That's like a 1 in a million chance. But still, I mean, it's good to actually hold something and be like, wow, this is.
It is, but also as somebody who's moved a lot, I've moved a lot of times in my life. It's nice not to own a CD. It's nice not to own a DVD. And even being able to get books digital now. It's like, it's nice just not to have that dust collector, you know, it's just like, just makes life a lot simpler.
After a while, you get too busy for all this stuff, especially like if you're trying to like run a business. I mean, you're going to spend all your time working and running a business and not enough time really reading or listening to music or whatever.
Well, and if you can have it all on your iPad or your MacBook.
Yeah,
or
then you can
being able to connect it all together.
Pop it open real quick, you know, on your iPad, iPod, and then just flip through a couple pages. Okay, back to work.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, like, time is just so tight now, it seems.
Yeah, we work hard, we play hard. Well, how can people find you online, Aaron? Give any website links or whatnot? I always like to include them in the show notes, but I don't know if you're on Twitter, Facebook, what social media sites, SoundCloud. How can people find you?
The ones I use are, I mean, you can find me on SoundCloud. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. What else is there? Reverb Nation, Last FM.
And how would, I mean, just search for?
Yeah, they can just search for my name, Gaszia, Gaszia.
Gaszia.
Yeah, so, I mean, you can search that in Facebook. I'm like the first result to pop up for anything, really. I mean, with the name, no one else has that name, so. And
give a little meaning really quickly. I should have probably started with this. I mean, is there any meaning behind the name? Or did it just sound kind of cool?
Yes and no. So I used to work at this place called Teleperformance. And so it's like a call center place, basically. And they run like different campaigns for different companies, and one was AT&T. So I worked for AT&T basically. And one day I got a customer, and his name was like Aksoy Gaszia or something like that, I think. And he was from Jersey, and like I just really liked the ring of it. So I almost was just going to pull his whole name, and I was like, well, no, I just want to make something really simple. And so I just pulled Gaszia, and so I did a little bit of research on it, and it looks like there's nothing really about it. Like there's only like a couple of people in the world that even have that name, last or first. And then I found out that it's of Italian descent. And like I said previously, I'm Italian. And also, I just like that it was so rare that you couldn't find that word anywhere. And I like really rare things. And I just like being unique. And it was very unique. And so I like told all my friends, I'm just like, well, it's hard to say, isn't it? And they're like, yeah, it is hard to say. They're like, but who cares? Just go with it. I mean, it's different. And so like I fought for a really long time because of the pronunciation. And then a lot of artists that I listen to, they end up having really hard names to say too. So I'm just like, well, screw it. I'll just go with it. And it started out not having any meaning to me, but over time, as I searched into it, it had some meaning to me.
Well, I love it. So definitely check out your new EP coming out the end of August. Damson Records. What is his website? Damson.com or Damson?
It's damsonmusic.com.
Okay,
you can go
yeah.
on there. But I think they might have like an actual link to it on their Facebook. So it's just Damson Records on Facebook, I think it is.
Cool.
But I mean, you can find all their links on the website. So yeah.
Cool. Anything else you want to add, Aaron? I appreciate you sitting down and sharing a little bit about what you do and a little bit about yourself and everything. Anything you want to add before we close out here?
No, not really. I mean, it's really cool to have the opportunity to even be able to like talk to someone about that. Other than that, I mean, like we said before, do what you want to do. Go out and find what you like.
What makes you happy?
Yeah, do whatever makes you happy. Literally, whatever it is, a business, art, whatever.
Many thanks, Aaron, for coming on the podcast and sharing your story, sharing a little bit more about Gaszia. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I'm going to put all the links at iamsaltlake.com/92. That way you can connect with him on his SoundCloud, his Facebook, Twitter. I got all the links right there at iamsaltlake.com/92. So many thanks to everybody for your support, for your emails, for your voicemails, for everything that you guys have done. You guys are awesome. I love the listeners for tuning in every Monday and Thursday as I introduce you to somebody else in the Salt Lake City area that I believe are doing some really cool things. I've got some great stuff ahead for the podcast, so you're going to want to make sure to subscribe in iTunes, Stitcher Radio. We're also part of the Mediocre Radio Network. If there is an area that you listen to podcasts and you can't find the I Am Salt Lake podcast, drop me an email at iamsaltlake@gmail.com. Let me know, and I'll try to get my podcast there so you can listen to it however you listen to podcasts. And speaking of that, I'd love to actually know how you do listen to podcasts. If you listen to it on your laptop computer, your desktop computer, your iPhone, your Android, drop me an email, iamsaltlake@gmail.com. Let me know how you listen to podcasts so I can make it more accessible for you. The voicemail line is 385-202-5926. I can't urge you enough to please call me up. Let me know what you think of the show. Let me know what you think of the guests. If you would like to come on the show, call me up, tell me your story, tell me what you're doing. If you have any events coming up, I'd love to hear those as well. So anyways, with all of that being said, that's going to do it for episode 92 of the I Am Salt Lake podcast. And I'll be back again next Monday with a brand new episode showcasing someone else, someone new, someone in Salt Lake City, Utah that I believe is doing some really cool stuff. So thank you so much for listening to the I Am Salt Lake podcast.